Most people think they have a complete picture of Charlie Kirk. They see the confident, often combative public figure who commanded stages and cable news segments. They remember the headlines, the controversies, and, ultimately, the tragedy that cut his story short in late 2024. But this version of Kirk, the one cemented in the public consciousness, is only the final chapter. To truly understand the phenomenon, we must go back to the beginning, to a place far from the political battlegrounds he would later occupy. We must look at the quiet, manicured lawns of suburban Illinois, where a seemingly ordinary teenager was about to make a series of decisions that were anything but ordinary. It is in this disconnect between the predictable environment and the unpredictable ambition it produced that the real story lies. Charlie Kirk grew up in Wheeling, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago that represents a certain kind of American comfort and stability. It was a world of high school football games, classroom debates, and summer jobs, the standard rites of passage for a middle-class kid in the Midwest. He was, by many accounts, a bright and engaged student, but something set him apart. While his peers were navigating the social hierarchies of high school or planning for college parties, Kirk was consuming talk radio and political theory with an almost obsessive focus. He wasn't just interested in politics, he was dissecting it, looking for the levers and mechanisms that made the system work, and more importantly, where it was failing. This intense focus was not just a hobby, it was the foundation of a worldview that was rapidly solidifying. He saw a disconnect between the conservative principles he was reading about and the perceived liberal drift on college campuses and in the broader culture. This wasn't a passive observation. For Kirk, it was an urgent problem that demanded a solution, a call to action that few others his age seemed to hear. The world he saw on television and read about in books felt fundamentally at odds with the world he was being prepared for, and he felt an overwhelming compulsion to bridge that gap. This internal drive created a sense of isolation, a feeling of being an outsider even within his own familiar surroundings. What looks like a sudden explosion onto the national scene was, in fact, the culmination of years of quiet, intense preparation. The pressure he felt was largely internal, a self-imposed mandate to do something significant. This wasn't just youthful idealism, it was a strategic mind beginning to formulate a plan. The seeds of Turning Point USA were not planted in a boardroom or a political think tank. They were sown in the mind of a teenager who looked at the political landscape and saw a void, a space where young conservative voices were not being organized or amplified. He believed he was the one to fill it, a conviction that would soon pull him out of the suburbs and into the national spotlight. The turning point, the moment the theoretical became real, was deceptively simple. After being rejected from the United States Military Academy at West Point, Kirk chose not to follow the traditional path to a four-year university. Instead of seeing this as a setback, he viewed it as an opportunity, a liberation from a system he already distrusted. At just 18 years old, in 2012, he took the intellectual framework he had built in his bedroom and transformed it into an organization. Turning Point USA. The initial idea was straightforward: to identify, educate, and organize young people around the principles of free markets and limited government. The strategy, however, was far more sophisticated than its simple mission statement suggested. Kirk understood something crucial about modern movements: they are built on branding and accessibility. He didn't start by writing dense policy papers or hosting dry academic conference. He started with stickers, buttons, and a clear, repeatable message. He recognized that the battle for ideas on a college campus wasn't won in the lecture hall but in the student union, on the campus quad, and on social media. His approach was less like a traditional political campaign and more like a viral marketing effort. He created a product, a neatly packaged, easily digestible form of conservatism, and set out to distribute it to a target demographic that he felt was being ignored by the mainstream conservative establishment. This rapid ascent was fueled by an almost inhuman level of ambition. Kirk became a traveling salesman for his ideology, driving from campus to campus, sleeping in cheap motels and speaking to any group that would have him, no matter how small. The pressure was immense. He was not just the founder, he was the chief fundraiser, the lead speaker, and the primary strategist. Every failure, every sparsely attended event, every rejection from a potential donor was a personal blow. This period was marked by a relentless pace that would test the limits of anyone, let alone an 18-year-old who was simultaneously trying to build a national organization from scratch while navigating the complexities of his own youth. Early mistakes were inevitable. In his zeal to grow the movement, Kirk sometimes prioritized speed over substance, leading to messaging that was criticized as overly simplistic or provocative. He was learning in public, making errors on a national stage that most people make in private. These moments of trial and error, however, were critical in shaping his public persona. He learned to be quicker on his feet, to sharpen his talking points, and to embrace the role of the political agitator. The raw, unpolished ambition of the teenager from Illinois was being forged, under immense pressure, into the polished and formidable figure who would soon become a fixture in American politics. Becoming a public figure at such a young age came at a significant personal cost. The line between Charlie Kirk, the person, and Charlie Kirk, the brand, began to blur almost immediately. The constant travel, the endless cycle of speeches and media appearances, and the perpetual need to be on created a state of near-permanent exhaustion. Friends and observers from that early period describe a young man running on pure adrenaline, driven by a belief in his mission, but also visibly strained by its demands. The normal experiences of late adolescence, forming relationships, making mistakes without public scrutiny, discovering one's identity slowly, were sacrificed for the sake of the movement. He was living a life accelerated, experiencing a decade's worth of professional pressure in just a few years. This intense environment fostered a powerful internal conflict. On one hand, Kirk was achieving a level of influence that most people, even those twice his age, could only dream of. He was meeting with powerful politicians, debating prominent intellectuals, and shaping the political conversation for a generation of young conservatives. The success was intoxicating. On the other hand, this success created a prison of expectation. He became a symbol, and every word he spoke was analyzed, criticized, and amplified. This required him to develop a thick skin to build emotional walls that protected him from the constant barrage of both praise and condemnation, fundamentally altering how he interacted with the world. The mental stress was compounded by the nature of his work. His role was not just to advocate but to confront. His entire brand was built on challenging the status quo on college campuses, which made him a lightning rod for controversy and a target for intense opposition. This meant that his daily reality was one of conflict. He wasn't just building an organization, he was fighting a perceived cultural war, and he was on the front lines. The burnout was not just physical, but emotional and psychological. The weight of being the face of a movement combined with the constant antagonism created a crucible that forged his public persona into something harder and more combative than the eager teenager who had started it all. Ultimately, the cost of fame was the loss of anonymity and the quiet space needed for personal growth. Kirk's identity became inextricably linked to his political ideology. Was he still the kid from Wheeling, or was he the embodiment of Turning Point USA? This is a question he likely wrestled with himself. The public persona we saw was a product of this tension, a combination of genuine belief, strategic calculation, and the psychological armor one must build to survive becoming famous so young. His story is a powerful illustration of how the pursuit of power and influence, especially at a formative age, can reshape a person from the inside out, leaving behind a public figure that is both powerful and profoundly isolated. The story of Charlie Kirk does not offer simple lessons. It is not a straightforward tale of success, nor is it a simple cautionary tale. Instead, it serves as a mirror reflecting the complex intersection of youth, power, and ideology in 21st century America. Kirk's journey from a suburban teenager to a national political force demonstrates how a single individual, armed with a clear message and a relentless strategy, can carve out a significant space in the public square. He saw a gap in the market of ideas and exploited it with the precision of a Silicon Valley entrepreneur. His story is a testament to the power of ambition, but it also reveals the personal and societal costs of a political landscape that rewards conflict. His premature death in 2024 did not end the conflicts he championed, it amplified them. The legacy he left behind is not one of settled debate, but of deepened division. The posthumous controversies, from the firing and reinstatement of a professor for a social media post, to the Texas Education Agency's investigation of hundreds of teachers, show how Kirk became a symbol so potent that even speaking about his death is a political act. The chilling effect described by the Texas Teachers Union in their January 2026 lawsuit is a direct consequence of a climate he helped create, where every statement is scrutinized for its political allegiance. His work continues, but now it is fueled by the powerful narrative of martyrdom. The aggressive expansion of Turning Point USA's Club America chapters into high schools since his passing is perhaps the most telling aspect of his enduring influence. The friction in communities from Wisconsin to California to Texas demonstrates that the culture war he fought on college campuses has now moved firmly into the hallways of public high schools. Parents and students are now forced to navigate the very divisions Kirk spent his life highlighting. His movement has outlived him, growing more powerful and more entrenched as it attaches itself to local school boards and community conflicts, ensuring that his ideological battles will be waged by a new generation. In the end, to understand Charlie Kirk is to understand a fundamental shift in American public life. It is to see how the tools of media and marketing can be used to build a political identity, and how that identity can become a self-fulfilling prophecy of conflict. His story is not about whether he was right or wrong, a hero or a villain. It is about how a young man from a quiet suburb became a central figure in the nation's ideological struggles, and how those struggles continue to shape our world long after his voice was silenced. It reveals that in modern America, the path from youthful ambition to lasting political power is often paved with polarization.